Well, bowling fans, thanks for joining us again. The Youth Challenge Series back for its last tournament of the 2012-2013 season with the DV8 Diva Clash. And Joey, we threw a lot of different lane conditions out here for the bowlers, and pretty challenging for them out here as we've seen them in practice.
Very challenging. 47 foot on one and 36 on the other. Big difference.
Absolutely. A couple familiar faces on the show. Morgan O'Brien, Tara Quinlan we've seen recently as well. A couple of recent additions with Jordan Newham. She won our Brunswick Super Clash a couple of weeks back. And on the top today, Melissa Molbeck, first time she's made one of our TV shows, and she threw the ball great all day.
Melissa's got a nice game, open, closed shoulders, nice and direct, good speed control.
Yeah, should be great matches all day. We're going to get back for that opening match. It's going to be Jordan Newham against Morgan O'Brien, and we'll be back from New Berlin Bowl in just a moment. Make sure you stay tuned.
300 isn't just a number. It is our destination. Shouting at a ball will make it strike more. Nothing is as satisfying as hurling dangerously heavy spheres at stationary objects and watching X's fill the frames. You know it, we know it. So here's to the ballers, the lane dwellers, the alley cats. A new breed is rising from the lanes. We are DV8. Tonight we bowl.
The Milwaukee area's bowling party specialist, whether for a small group or a large fundraiser. Daily food and beverage specials, whether you're on the lanes or inside the spacious alehouse. Whether for a casual meeting, business luncheon, or wedding reception, our banquet and meeting facilities can fit your needs. New Berlin Alehouse, West Cleveland Avenue, New Berlin.
The opening match for the 2013 DV8 Diva Clash coming to you once again. New Berlin Bowl, our host, and as always in New Berlin Bowl, we got the two different patterns on the lanes to challenge the bowlers. And Joey, one of our favorites out there with Morgan O'Brien starting us off.
Morgan O'Brien out of Lomira, Wisconsin. Opening shot on the 47-foot pattern.
And a 4-9.
A 4-9 with a ball that didn't have that much hook built in.
No, and you could tell the ball's going to go long, but when it does make a move, it's real aggressive. You can just see there a little high, flushes straight through, leaves in that 4-9 combination. Sure, right now she'll just take one early in the match.
I'll take one and get it a dodge, but maybe give it a run. It takes the one, solid pin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're going to open, frame one is the frame to open.
Absolutely. Want to thank once again DV8 Bowling for sponsoring this event, the DV8 Diva Clash. For the girls, the next show you'll see the DV8 Endless Nightmare Boys Championships. So a couple of nice balls in their line out there. And winner of our Brunswick Super Challenge earlier this season with their partner Sean Rash. We got Jordan Newham up on lane 24 on that 36-foot pattern, Joey.
Right, and we could see a little bit of hook, not playing as far right as I thought she may, but nonetheless, just opening strike.
Yeah. Styling that high five gear jersey with the Brunswick logos on it. I want to thank High Five Gear for their support as well all season long.
So you've probably seen a lot of players this week, Phil, use different balls on each lane, since we have a 36-foot pattern on the right and a 47-foot on the left.
And you can see the difference in ball roll even with the different equipment. They're playing the lane a little slower. They're playing it much straighter. And you got to play where the lane tells you. You can't play even with different balls in the same spot on each lane.
And she went to a stronger ball with a stronger core and cover, but it sure looked weaker down lane.
Yeah, it just kind of rolled out a little flat. Lucky to just leave the 2-pin. If she would have left the 7, it would have been a little harder for her to cover up. That nice, long, fluid follow-through gets her the spare and gets her the early lead.
So the scoring pace this week, high, low, medium?
Well, it was pretty medium. We had them on 3 different patterns during the tournament. We had them on a short, medium, and long, so they were well challenged. And all the girls here averaged just over 200 for the TV show competition, real close getting to the show. Boys averaged a little bit higher because on the longer pattern, their rev rates, they were a little more able to open up the pattern, and you'll see that on the next show. And a great shot there by Morgan, a bounce back off that 4-9.
Right, and Morgan playing considerably further right than is Jordan. And the ball, a little hook stop right in front of the pocket, tripped that 4.
And that's the key to those short patterns, is controlling the ball movement, because otherwise if you get too much of an angular move, we saw it a lot today, bowlers would either wash out if they missed a little to the right, or if they missed a little left and it went high, that much angle was guaranteed, almost a big 4 every time.
And a great reaction there, a little light mixer. Gives her an opening double after her 4-9 in frame 1.
That cuts Jordan's lead down to a single pin.
So in conditions like this, Phil, it becomes very important for bowlers to understand ball motion, in that on a short pattern, such as Jordan's up on the right lane here, a ball that hook stops isn't a bad thing.
Absolutely. You get that control on the back end, you know what it's going to do. You can see she has pretty much the same motion as Morgan, just a little less overall hook. That time was just a pull left, leaving a 6-10.
Right, because I get customers into the pro shop asking me, do I want a skid flip motion when I'm playing the gutter? And I would say at times, if you're throwing the ball left to right toward the gutter, then a little bit of flip is okay. But typically, a ball that skids, hooks, and stops will help the ball hold pocket.
And a lot of these kids, I saw a lot of these kids when the Pro Tour was in town back with the summer swing in May, when they were watching the pros on the on the wolf pattern that was 32 feet in length. All the pros were throwing stuff that really pretty much had a hook set reaction because of how short the pattern was. They didn't want to get themselves into trouble.
Right, and the key is maintaining the pocket, staying in the 1-3. And there's a good shot by Jordan. Just doesn't carry the light shot that
unusual
Morgan
bad
was
break.
able to carry. Right. And I think we're going to see that on this left lane the entire day, because when there's only 13 feet of friction for the ball to hook, again, that's a pattern that you almost want a ball with a quick reaction when it leaves the pattern, since there's only 13 feet to hook. If it's slow and lazy, it's not going to give you any carry whatsoever.
Get a little bit of pop on the back end and get those corners out. With that spare, we're going to take our first commercial break of the day. Join us back from New Berlin Bowl for the rest of this match in just one moment.
Keep within our allotted time, we had the bowlers continue bowling through the commercial break. Morgan O'Brien stepped up on lane 24 at New Berlin Bowl, the 36-foot short pattern. Came a little bit high in her first shot, had no problem getting all 3 pins with the ball in her spare. And in her 5th frame on the 47-foot long pattern, nice tight line in the pocket, carried all 10 into the pit to stay within a pin of Jordan Newham. Jordan then stepped up in her half of the 5th frame, a little high, but trips the 4-pin, and with that, we're going to get back to the action.
And again, a very sound game. Great tempo to the line, long, loose swing, no grab, no muscling it or trying to power it up at release point, which a lot of the boys tend to do.
Absolutely.
And again, knows how to play lanes and use the right piece of equipment.
She gets solid coaching back home at Aurora, so very good program she has for her high school at Mateo Valley High School, and she bowls at Parkside Lanes down there, home to Sean Rash. So I'm sure every once in a while when Sean sees her practicing, especially after winning the Brunswick Super Classic, probably gets a little advice from a good pro like Sean. Not that Sean's any good.
No. Now, both girls making that long pattern lane look easier than the short, and most bowlers would probably say the short would be their preferred pattern.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just a dead pull left by Morgan there. That's pretty unusual.
Right. So, well, we've seen 3 consecutive high shots. Trip 4, beak, and now cross. And again, she's going to need to make some adjustment, because you can't flirt with head pins and crossovers and hope to get out of dodge without an open eventually.
Yeah. So moves cross lane, switches to that low friction bowling ball for the spare. No problem covering that up.
Right, and the viewers are noticing both girls similar styles. 4-step approach, trail leg down on the ground, trail leg being the right leg, and long, loose follow-throughs. That's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, always nice to have that long follow-through. Lets the fingers stay in the ball and make that transition of energy, put it into the rotation on the ball, and throw a lot of strikes out there. Let's see, long, loose, got to get up a little bit quicker, and yeah, you could see she wasn't happy at release and knew it with a 10-pin.
Yeah, but still another good shot on the tougher of the 2 lanes, and 10-pin spare should be no problem for Morgan.
Yeah, ball just a little late getting into that roll phase. You can see when it got on camera there, it was still skidding, and that camera's sitting right at the end of the pattern at 47 feet, so ball still had a little ways to
Yeah, I don't have
transition
that.
over.
I don't have that kiss of death like you tend to have at times. When I say there should be no problem making the spare, they make it. Yet as soon as you mention a pin, they haven't missed a 4-pin in 20 matches. They'll miss it.
Yeah, I got by with it on that one, so no problem covering up. I trust both these young ladies with their spare shooting. They wouldn't have made it to the TV show today after 8 games bowling on 3 different lane patterns without making a lot of spares and average over 200, because strikes were at a premium, especially at the short pattern. And you can see once again, if it gets too far left, there's not a lot of room to stay in the pocket.
Right, and you know, when we practiced on the patterns for the PBA events that were in Milwaukee this summer swing, the short pattern, typically bowlers will have their target and miss room to the right. No miss room left. There's no hold.
Absolutely.
Whereas on that long pattern, the 47-foot pattern today, you'll typically have your target and maybe a board in. And experience will allow these girls to realize this, unless they've played on these patterns often enough. You got to know where your miss room is.
Absolutely, and it showed a lot with the scores coming out of Junior Gold this year down in Detroit. A lot of the bowlers had problems with the short pattern, which you think would be a little bit easier for a lot of them, but
right.
Spare making really comes into play. All of a sudden the ball really hooks going across the lane if they're shooting a cross lane spare. And another bad break for Jordan on that
right.
long pattern with the 7-pin.
On the tougher lane seems to be easier to hit the pocket, but definitely challenging for carry. And you're right, Phil. You and I saw that when we bowled with Van McNeil on the short patterns at River City, in that the short pattern might start out looking nice, but when it starts transitioning, it can get spookier and trickier than the long pattern.
Especially if some of the bowlers aren't playing the pattern the right way. And we saw transition quick on that wolf pattern, and we saw it often. So even myself as a solo lefty, you know, every 5 or 6 frames, I was moving on that pattern, no doubt. Oh, nice close match here. Morgan stepping up, looking to get a strike on the board. We haven't seen one out of her in a couple of frames here, and once again, she's left and leaves another 6-pin.
Yeah, and that's 4 consecutive shots, and it seemed like she tried to firm up a little bit with speed, but again, 36-foot pattern, that's 24 feet of area to hook. And it's going to take more than a speed adjustment, Phil. Excuse me.
Yeah, and it's probably going to end up taking a ball adjustment, I would think, pretty soon. She started off with a couple of shots, with a shot real nice in the pocket, and it's been nothing but left for her since then. Covers up that 6-pin without too much of a problem.
Well, now she goes to her good lane where she struck on, well, not the first frame 4-9, but then a double, then a 10-pin. But that's 4 of 4 in the pocket.
Yeah, and she's got to set up something here because she's only up by a pin, and she's going to have to finish the match after Jordan on that short lane where she's struggling. So strike here is key. Put a little pressure on your opponent because Jordan knows she gets to finish the 10th frame on lane 23. Oh, that 8-pin wanted to stand.
Yeah, high flush, and she may have been a little inside of her target line on that shot, but her speed being a little firmer, ball held pocket very nicely.
So watch that replay. 5-pin sawed off the 8, and the ball just tickles it out of there going through. Well, Jordan here can still put a lot of pressure going into the 10th frame, and she gets to finish on her good lane. That's just left out of her hand, and you could see once it got to the head pin, it was going to go sawing right through.
Jordan not as fortunate as Morgan has been on that lane.
And just right through the nose and a Greek church there.
And that is a killer at the wrong time. 9th frame is not the frame you want to go 5 and possibly 2. She got 3, but still that's a big loss in count. She can max score at 186.
Well, that would still force Morgan to get a mark in the 10th frame, but she does have to get at least the first 2 strikes on a good count to put a little pressure on Morgan here.
But, you know, putting a pressure on Morgan to get a mark on a frame she hasn't hit the pocket, that's a good idea.
Absolutely. This first one here for Jordan is huge.
A little left. Yeah, a little left, and it didn't hold pocket enough, and she's going to get a spare here in all likelihood in a 170 game, mid 170s. So first match to Morgan.
Yeah, all Morgan's going to have to do now is just step up and stay behind the foul line working on a strike. Yeah, if Jordan goes spare strike here, it's 176, and that would just force Morgan to get, I believe, 3 pins on 2 balls. I think that's pretty much under control.
Yeah, and Jordan, if she could do it over again, she'd probably make a more dramatic move on that right lane, because splitting the 7th, splitting the 9th kind of was her undoing.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens on for Morgan next match, if she's going to make a ball change or something with Tara Quinlan coming on. Tara, a pretty direct player, and we know she'll play lane 24 a little farther outside than Jordan did, probably right in Morgan's area, so there could be a ball change in Morgan's future on that lane. Let's see if she even tries it now in the 10th frame. Pretty much just stay behind the foul line and get your count.
You know, it seems whoever can control that right lane or figure out the right lane has the advantage.
She's definitely a little farther to the right, but once again, that ball, she needs to be either farther right or something with a lot less friction for a bowling ball.
Well, you know, she may be using a low friction ball, but again, 24 feet for it to hook, Phil. And Morgan's A game is not going left to right as much as down the boards. She's going to have to make a zone change, it appears.
Yeah, a big one as well. Tara Quinlan, our second seed today, top seed. First time on TV for Melissa Molbeck for the winner of that semifinal match coming up.
But Morgan, she can do it. You know, I mean, Phil, we've seen these girls for years, and we've seen their games develop and progress, and we've seen them mature in the sport of bowling. And let's see, hard to tell from here exactly how many she's in, but that was a better shot than she rips the rack, Phil.
Little something, little bonus going into the next match. Be Morgan O'Brien against Tara Quinlan in our semifinal. We'll be back with that from New Berlin Bowl in just a moment. Make sure you stay tuned.
.300 isn't just a number, it is our destination. Shouting at a ball will make it strike more. Nothing is as satisfying as hurling dangerously heavy spheres at stationary objects and watching X's fill the frames. You know it, we know it, so here's to the ballers, the lane dwellers, the alley cats. A new breed is rising from the lanes. We are DV8. Tonight we bowl.
Alright, had to get this semifinal match here from the DV8 Diva Open started during the commercial break. Tara Quinlan starting on that long pattern in lane 23 and just a tug for a 7-10 split, and she's going to get one out of this. Start off with 9 in the first frame, and we're going to have Morgan O'Brien, our winner of our opening match, stepping up on lane 24 in that short pattern, Joey.
Yeah, you never want to start with an opening frame, but like we mentioned, it didn't hurt Morgan in her last match. She ended up winning.
Yep, she advanced with that 194 to 175 victory over Jordan Newham. And let's see if she can keep that going off of where she found it in the 10th frame last game. How about that, Joey?
You know, she found a little bit of area outside the first arrow, so she moved her eyes at least 2 to 3 boards further right, and she may have the whole right side of the lane there, Phil.
Yeah, and that's kind of key, and I think you'll see that more when the boys are out there. The boys with a little bit higher speed, and they would come up the back of the ball a little bit more to control it. You'll see a lot of the boys out there on the next show. It's a brave soul to get out there and play that first, second, third board when you're not used to it and not playing it all the time like these ladies are.
Oh, almost a bad break with a pocket light 8-10, but she gets the 8 pin to topple.
So,
yeah, Morgan's going to be tough to beat this match, Phil, because we mentioned it earlier. He who controls the right lane, she who controls the right lane, should win the match. She has not missed this left lane in that she hasn't missed the pocket, even though she hasn't carried every shot.
And wow, how about that?
We didn't mention anything about her spare shooting being so good, but
surprising there. A little bit of hook right at the end. She's not using a plastic ball. She's using a resin ball there, so she is still going to get that little bit of hook on a 47-foot pattern.
Yeah, if she stayed with her strike ball, that would be a Columbia Enigma, which is definitely an earlier rolling ball for oil.
Ooh, that's just a dead pull.
Yeah, that was way left off the hand, and she'll learn quick on that right lane. You must throw the ball left to right. Otherwise, it's going to start hooking at, look like 15 feet.
Yeah, Tara, our number 2 qualifier, and she averaged just under 195 in the opening block for 4 games on the short pattern, so she knows where to play on this, and that was once again.
Yeah, that was left off the hand as well. Is this her first time on TV?
No, she's made a couple of shows already this year. She actually bowled against Morgan, a little bit of revenge, up in Sheboygan for the Visit Sheboygan Invitational. Morgan beat her up there. And so you know Tara's looking for a little bit of revenge on that as well. So Morgan went on to beat Jacob Kent in that match. Those lanes were pretty brutally fried by the time they were done. bowling, and Morgan took home that $300 winner-take-all scholarship from the Visit Sheboygan Invitational.
And a much better shot off her hand, and we noticed Tara's game, 4-step approach, similar to Morgan, but rather than a slide at release, she's a planter. And now you've done enough coaching over the years, Phil. How would you describe a player's advantage of being a plant slide as opposed to a longer slide?
Well, a plant slide, it gives you a little more leverage at the bottom of the swing if your timing is correct. The bad part about that is if you get your timing a little bit late, as she chops another spare, 2 chops in a row for Tara, if that timing is a little bit late, the bowler have a tendency to close their shoulders at release and just have a constant pull to the left. We've seen that with a couple of shots on the short pattern from Tara now, where the timing's just a little bit off, and she gets that pull on the bottom. Leverage is great, but if you don't stay relaxed and don't let your shoulders down, stay down and relaxed through the shot, you can give yourself a lot of problems. And how about that for Morgan?
Nice little 4-9 trip, and you can see she can't cheat it in a little bit left at the break point, or that ball's going to come high. So
yeah, those patterns, both these patterns, very flat. They're sport compliant patterns for sport bowling, or PBA type patterns for those of you that watch the PBA tours. So when the pros go and bowl on these overseas, they average about the same as they do on the pro tour. Pros are in the 220s, obviously, on these tougher patterns.
Morgan wasting no time to get up on the approach to throw this shot, and for good reason. She knows she's got a little run going here. Let's put a little pressure on my opponent, who now has 3 consecutive opens.
Oh yeah, when you can get out to a 33-pin lead early and your opponent is on those 3 opens, as you mentioned, the finger holes get a little tight, thumb hole gets a little tight on your opponent, and Tara knows here she's got to start stringing him to get back in the match.
And you can see her setup. She's a little further left with her feet, sliding a little left of 20. Hey. Much better shot, and that ball held line very nicely.
So I was kind of surprised, even though she was a little inside, that it still held pocket. I mean, her speed is a little bit higher than Morgan's, but as we've seen all day, those balls that are usually left of 10 get to the head pin very quickly. Tara, you can see she gets set up, doesn't use the whole approach, but she really gets into that last step, powers through it. That needs some help getting up to the head pin.
Yeah, and again, that was similar to the previous shot. She's close on that lane, but the ball needing about another foot or 2 of friction to make that corner.
Every once in a while you need that 62 or 63 foot long lane to get to the pocket. So, well, they did bowling like golf. You have different lengths of lanes. That could be pretty interesting. Let's see what you can do here for the spare getting into the commercial break for this game. Polyester ball down that lane, no problem, takes the chop out of play. With that, we're going to get into the commercial break for this game for the 2013 DV8 Diva Clash semifinal match. Join us back from New Berlin Bowl in just a moment.
I have a lot of viewers that ask me, why do you have so many of your tournaments at Castle Lanes? Well, Castle Lanes is a center that has an exceptional atmosphere. The charm of being in the Northwoods cabin while you bowl, an attentive staff on the lanes and in the lounge, all the big screen TVs and a free Wi-Fi hotspot, and being named in Bowler's Journal as one of the 95 places to bowl before you die, you have to bowl at Castle Lanes. That's why we love Castle Lanes, and you will too.
We had the bowlers continue bowling through the commercial break to keep on our time pace. Morgan O'Brien on lane 24 at New Berlin Bowl comes up a little bit high, leaves that tough split with the 3-9-10. Not too easy to get the 9-pin out, but she just slides it out on the spare conversion there nicely. Moves over to lane 23, the tight 47-foot oil pattern. Comes up a bit high, leaves the 6-10. Moves cross lane to cover up the spare, and just barely gets the 10-pin out, avoids chopping. Tara Quinlan steps up. She needs to make up some ground in a hurry, down by over 30 pins. Once again, struggling on lane 24 in that short pattern with the 3-6-10 spare, but a textbook conversion to keep herself in the game, and we're going to get back to the action with myself and Joe Suara right now. The winner does get a bowling ball thanks to DV8 Bowling, but whoever wins this match will have to get through Melissa Molbeck in our championship match to win that bowling ball. Plus, all bowlers that makes the show today receiving some goodies from High Five Gear. I don't know what good that's going to do Melissa since her dad Todd owns High Five Gear, but I'm sure she'll take whatever she can get from him. And that's just quick out of her hand, and washout time it is, and the struggles continue for Tara.
And is that the first head pin we've seen on the left lane?
That is, out of both the matches so far.
Yeah. And on a 47-foot pattern, you'd think we'd see more.
All it takes is that little increase in speed, and next thing you know, the ball just hydroplanes past the head pin. She takes off the wrist device. She's going to play this one definitely a little bit straighter to try to make this washout, and just too much of the head pin to do it.
Yeah, and Tara's really showing us the true look of these lanes. The patterns are tough. They're 2.5 to 1. I mean, Morgan's making it look like a house shot, but you know, Tara, we can feel your pain because we've been on these patterns, and we know if your game is not perfect, opens come pretty easily.
Oh, I'm bowling Sport League here during the summer at New Berlin Bowl, and we've been on that Paris pattern. I've got a couple of 140 games to my credit on that pattern, no doubt about that. You make a little mistake, and being left-handed, I don't have anybody on my side to help me open the lanes up, so I get quick. I miss the head pin, no doubt about it.
All right, and we can see on the right lane, Morgan
ball
did
change,
a ball
for her,
change, a little experiment time, and perfect time to do it for the upcoming final match. And again, she went a little more direct line-wise, figuring a tamer ball, but it didn't matter.
But keeps making those spares, keeps maintaining that lead. She's out to 44 pins. So Tara's maximum right now, if she strikes out, is 177. All Morgan has to really do is just keep marking, and she'll be in the 190s.
And you know, kind of what Morgan saw there, she went to an IQ tour, a tamer ball, tame core. Sometimes, no matter what ball is in hand, you still have to throw it to the right target. Different balls are basically just going to go through the pins different, give you a little different pin carry, but they don't always hook, say, 5 boards less than another ball hooks.
Right.
And sometimes people expect that, but you don't always see that.
Yeah, the roll pattern can be different just because of the length or volume of oil out there, and you really have to be observant, like these bowlers are, to see those changes and make the subtle moves you have to make to keep up with the lane transition.
Right. In other words, you can't buy a ball to play second arrow with. If you were to, you may have to buy 50 balls because patterns are so different and they change so quickly.
Absolutely.
The key is just having a variety of equipment with different length, different shapes down lane, and learn how to read lanes.
Especially as more centers offer sport bowling and those type of tougher conditions for leagues, and a lot more bowlers are looking for the challenge, especially the kids. The kids know, and when they go to junior gold or where they bowl collegiately, all they're going to see is conditions like this, and they're learning about making surface adjustments and making the lane changes, the hand position changes, where you start on the lane, where you finish on the lane, to keep up and to score. And once again with Tara, we see, unfortunately, because of that plant, if she closes those shoulders quick, it's a dead pull left, and that's not going to help her on that short pattern.
You know, and that may have only been a 1 or 2 board miss at release, yet down lane it looks like an 8 or 10 board miss.
Because of, she started that ball definitely from right to left, and that's just going to accentuate how much that ball moves to the left when it gets off the end of the oil pattern.
And how did she make that spare?
A lot of drive on that ball. Usually you have to
Wow.
get to the left of the head pin and kind of make it like a Brooklyn strike. Let's see what she can do here. Get back in the pocket. How about that? Wally's in the house.
She carried the Steve Grabowski on that, and the Steve Grabowski is when the 5 blows to the right,
Correct.
whereas we know it should go to the left.
Absolutely. Watch that 5. Well, yep, there we go. The 4 and the 5.
Yeah, that was ugly, but there's no such thing as an ugly strike.
Oh, she'll take anything she can get right now. She just wants to finish out strong and get out of Morgan's way here. So not one of.
No, that's going to be high too, and you can see it when she's a little straight to her break point, which should be board 2-3. Ball starts up quick. If she can bank it right, she'll get a little better angle down lane. I mean, it's easy for us to say. We're analyzing it, and it may not be her missing her target, Phil. If the front part of the lane dissipates oil, the ball won't get to where you want it to go, and it may look like you're pulling it, but you're not. The ball's just seeing early friction.
Yeah, and you can see right there, she moved well to the left on that lane in order to make that 3 pin. You could see how early the ball picked up, and it almost hooked away from the 3.
And knowing Morgan's accuracy, it's probably the lane.
So we've got enough lane play out here with the bowlers practicing, and especially if the bowlers are starting around 10 board, now that's where Morgan's deciding to start. She may have to jump way back outside again and try to trust it off the rail. So, and I'm sure Melissa's been watching all three of the ladies before she gets on the lanes here, getting ready to jump on and practice before the next match.
And that was pretty.
Great way for Morgan to lock up the match. Has a chance to shoot 199 here if she goes off the sheet. Tara, if she strikes out, she can still shoot 167, so not Tara's greatest game out there, but she bowled well all day to get here. You don't get to be second seed on one of our Youth Challenge Series TV shows by throwing 150 and 160 games.
Yeah, this is a game Tara's going to want to soon forget.
Or learn from. She might watch this DVD a couple times.
It'll be painful to watch. I mean, we've all had some ugly games, and to be forced to rewatch every shot and every open, it's not easy.
Yeah, that's true. And once again, just dead left on 24 and leaves that 3-9 split. We're going to take a break. We're going to get out of here real quick. We'll be back with the final match with Morgan O'Brien and Melissa Molbeck for the DV8 Diva Clash from New Berlin Bowl in just a moment. Make sure you stay tuned.
The Milwaukee area's bowling party specialist, whether for a small group or a large fundraiser. Daily food and beverage specials, whether you're on the lanes or inside the spacious alehouse. Whether for a casual meeting, business luncheon, or wedding reception, our banquet and meeting facilities can fit your needs. New Berlin Alehouse, West Cleveland Avenue, New Berlin. Providing premier equipment sales and services to Wisconsin bowlers since 1973. Check out our Wall of Fame and our current specials at bpsmilwaukee.com.
Championship match of the 2013 DV8 Diva Clash coming to you once again from New Berlin Bowl. Morgan O'Brien's won her first two matches in the stepladder, has to face Melissa Molbeck in the title match, and starting off on her good lane, Joy, on lane 23 on that long pattern.
Yeah, her good lane that has kind of helped her ride the wave to the championship match, and something we haven't seen too often. A high shot from Morgan O'Brien.
Leaving at 610 for the conversion. Morgan definitely more successful on that left lane, and I think Melissa saw that because Melissa had lane choice being the higher seed. She's going to force Morgan to finish after her on lane 24, where she's had problems with that short pattern all day.
Well, Melissa made the right call by having Morgan finish on the right lane without a doubt, but an uncharacteristic open by Morgan. Her second open of the day in frame one.
Every match today started with an open frame, so that's kind of unusual out of our bowlers. Hopefully we get that fixed before the boys' endless nightmare clash, thanks to our friends at DV8 on the next show.
Now Melissa's game is interesting. It's different from Morgan's in that quite a bit more shoulder rotation. Open, close right there. It's a little aggressive follow through at the release point.
Playing the lanes much straighter than Morgan all day, but a lot of success out there. Just over 200 average to make the top seed today.
Using a pearlized ball with good length, but I think she's going to learn real quickly that right lane definitely gives it some aggressive back end, so you need to give up that pocket.
Switches to that polyester ball for the spare. Taking the lane out of play, best thing to do, especially on that short pattern, and covers it up nicely. So, once again, thanks to our sponsors today and on our next show, DV8 Bowling. Make sure you go to that website and check it out, dv8bowling.com.
Yeah, some interesting new products. The Endless Nightmare we spoke of earlier, and the Mutiny Marauder, another good ball, mid-price ball, very strong reaction.
See what Melissa can do here on the long pattern, 47-foot Paris pattern, and you can see she's going to have a little trouble getting that ball to turn over as straight as she plays it.
And that was a good shot off her hand. I think just a touch softer speed may be all she's going to need on that lane.
Yeah, you can see even just, it only picks up the roll about 3 feet away from the head pin, and that's not going to be enough to get all the way back up. If she was a board left, she probably would have kicked the 10 pin out.
Stays with her plastic ball for the spare attempt, even on the oily lane. And that's a good call, Phil, or do you think you can use your strike ball on a 47-foot lane?
Well, I think you could use either. It depends if you have a multiple pin combination. Probably with a sleeper pin, I'd stick with my strike ball. But if it's a single pin like that, you can just go relatively straight, as long as you're going direct up the lane with it. If you're kind of going cross lane, Sometimes you can get yourself in trouble with a little hydroplaning and the ball will miss to the, in her case, right side of the pin if she was going from right to left.
And a rare shot from Morgan that actually hit light and then quite a bit of deflection at the release. So rather than playing a different angle, she may have tried a different release, because you can see that ball bounced right after entering the pocket.
Yeah, that ball really had nothing on it. I mean, obviously with 24 feet of drive, if she takes some revs off, that roll could just be done, total rollout when it hits the head pin. And lucky the head pin came back off the wall, took the 5 pin out, and that's unusual for back-to-back opens for Morgan.
Well, a little bit of lack of focus from Morgan, so Melissa putting a little pressure on her, and yeah, that basically just hooked away on her.
So 21 pin lead for Melissa Molbeck early, and that's going to loosen her swing when she's up next. No doubt about that. Let's see if Morgan can get herself back in the pocket here. Long 4 steps, flew to the line, and that's left, and a big break to get that 7 pin out on the left side.
Back-to-back high shots on her good lane that she's owned, and as accurate as Morgan is these last 2 games, Phil, it's very possible she has burned a hole in the pattern where the ball is reading sooner. Now, if she moves in and tries to give up the pocket and let it hook back, it may not recover.
So she may have to simply just trust it a little further to the left and really play the high hard one into the pocket on that lane. But then you got to make sure you get the right amount of turn on it. You're not spinning it, because if you hit the ball on a long pattern with a little spin that doesn't finish, you might leave an 8-10 or worse.
What's worse than an 8-10?
Oh, 5-8-10.
Oh,
We've seen
okay.
5-8-10s, so
5,
not
7,
pretty.
10s.
Yeah.
But an open's an open, and Morgan normally doesn't get too many opens, and she's already got 2 out of 3.
Melissa playing very direct on that lane, a little bit more left than we've seen all the bowlers the rest of the day, but with her speed, keeps it on line and carries that 10 pin out.
Now Melissa using a Roto Grip Shatter, pearlized ball, known for length, but known for strong back-end reaction. Yet on the left lane, that ball would go too long and not give her any back-end reaction.
Almost would act like a spare ball on the left lane. Squares up a little bit more on that lane and mixes it up nicely.
Yeah, and she got just enough to get that mix, and you know, she either softened up a little bit or moved her target in, but she knows there's not a lot of room for error.
Melissa goes back, talks to her sister Cassie back there. Cassie, former assistant coach for the UW Whitewater program, where Melissa bowls with a couple of bowlers we've seen on our shows recently as well, Ashley Bell and Katie Zwiefelhofer. All teammates out there.
It's a pretty strong trio right there.
That team from Whitewater did make the NCAA National Tournament this year and the USBC National Tournament, so no doubt very strong program, especially for an NCAA Division III where there's no scholarship money awarded to the bowlers.
We'll see Morgan, another ball deflecting quite a bit upon pocket entry. Fortunate to kick the 5 out.
Yeah, 4-5 there. It could have probably been the end of the match without a conversion, but this should be...
not with Morgan.
This should be relatively easy for her. I think she's going to learn from that cross-lane mistake she made before. Dead on that 4-pin. We're going to get into our commercial break for this game for the 2013 DV8 Diva Class Championship. Join us back in New Berlin Bowl in just a moment for the rest of this match.
.300 isn't just a number. It is our destination. Shouting at a ball will make it strike more. Nothing is as satisfying as hurling dangerously heavy spheres at stationary objects and watching X's fill the frames. You know it, we know it. So here's to the ballers, the lane dwellers, the alley cats. A new breed is rising from the lanes. We are DV8. Tonight we bowl.
Morgan O'Brien stepping up on lane 23 at New Berlin Bowl with a big 32-pin deficit. And Joey, she's been kind of off all game on both lanes.
Well, we see a different look on her face this match. Definitely more serious, more pensive. Morgan's not accustomed to being down in matches, much less 30-some pins.
No, I mean, she has 7 Youth Challenge Series titles under her belt, tied for most all time with Sarah Poblaski.
Right. She made some type of move on that lane and got to the pocket soundly, but 10-pin didn't cooperate. So again, Morgan she's a cerebral player, Phil. She will think and scratch and claw to find a way to get a double, much less a turkey or a four-bagger.
And a nice cover there. Keeps herself within 33 pins, but with Melissa Molbeck working on a double right now. Boy, a couple more strikes and this match could be done early.
Well, it could be, but again, last couple balls in the pocket, and with a more direct line, I would give her an advantage of this game, or right now.
Looks to be on target there.
Yeah, that was a pretty good shot. Leaves a stone 9.
Doesn't seem too phased by it. Just kind of, we've seen that all ladies on the show today. They know it's just part of the game. They don't get overly upset.
Well, that's it. Good bowlers are accustomed to bad breaks at the wrong time, such as solid 8 pins, solid 9s, and not much we can do about it by getting upset. So
no. Turn around, grab your ball, focus again, and get that spare made. You don't want to give any pins back to your opponent, especially when you have such a big lead at this point in time. And that, wow, even with plastic.
That surprised me, especially on a short pattern, that it didn't have any bit of backhand.
Didn't hook back into the 9 pin, and that just gave back 12 pins to Morgan O'Brien. Melissa's lead cut down to 20 pins. And hey, get your high five gear on. Always order that good custom design stuff. Tara Quinlan, after she shot the last match, made a little uniform change, I guess you could say, a little jersey change, and showing her support for high five gear.
Yeah, in fact, I'm wearing a high five shirt as we speak, and they are comfortable.
Yes, they are. I got mine on as well, and always comfortable to bowl in, always comfortable to relax after you're done bowling when you have your beverage of choice at the bar or in the seating area when you're done.
You know, and I get customers coming in and saying, well, how does a shirt make a difference? And it's the weight of the shirt, it's the cut of the shirt, it's the breathability of the shirt that makes a shirt comfortable to wear or not. I mean, you can tell with polos and dress shirts. Some feel better, and that's why people, I heard a stat once, Phil, that people wear 20% of their clothes 80% of the time.
I have to believe that. I know my wardrobe is probably right about that. So I probably go through the same 20-25% of my stuff, and the other 75%,
it just sits
comes
there.
out once in a while.
And they can be nice looking clothes, but if they don't feel right or you just don't want to put that on, you're going to stay with the tried and true choices.
Yeah, and there's a tried and true strike for Morgan right there.
Her first strike of the match.
So
rarely does she go 5 frames without a strike.
No doubt. 10 back in the pit. Can't throw it any prettier than that. Split those 8 and 9 pins.
Well, one of these girls is going to have to take control of the match. And, Morgan has been through this many times. We'll see if she can get it done. Solid 10 last time on this lane. Perfect strike there. There's a double, and Melissa, we got somebody coming.
Yeah, we see how quick lead changes happen on these shows in the past, and once again, a 33-pin lead from Melissa in 2.5 frames goes down to 10 pins because of one bowler's error and the other bowler's success. And there's Melissa's sister Cassie looking on, and a couple of bowlers you'll see on the Endless Nightmare Clash with Ryan Zagar and Nick Crummell. A couple of bowlers having great success at Junior Gold this year.
Yeah, they're not too bad, are they?
No, not at all. Nick pretty much wrapped up the U Challenge Series Player of the Year thanks to the sponsorship of High Five Gear this season. He'll be getting a nice award from High Five Gear from that, along with Stephanie Schwartz for the girls. We'll have more on that on our next telecast. So Nick, the 2012 Shonyuna Memorial winner up in Sheboygan, and we'll be back with those telecasts again in April of 2014. Great tournament that Keith Yona runs up there.
Yeah, one of the more enjoyable events that you and I partake in, and we've had some PVA staffers to help us out over the years. Brad Angelo, Tom Smallwood, Parker Bone.
I'm sure we'll have another one this year. Keith's always got somebody from the Brunswick or DV8 staffs on hand to take care of things. If you're looking to watch that in person, mark March 22nd of 2014 on your calendars. A lot of the best youth bowlers in the Midwest will be there. And another light hit that acts a little weird on 23 because of that long oil pattern.
Yeah, and again, is she happy with a pocket shot on that lane? Probably. Happy with non-carry? I don't think so, because she knows her opponent's got a double. One more strike from Morgan, and we got a new match.
And you can just see right there, not happy with it, but she knows she's just got to refocus. She goes through this a lot with college bowling at UW Whitewater. Just got to get out there. We don't get that strike. You got to fill frames, and once again misses to the right. And we talked about that a little bit earlier, going cross lane with a plastic ball. If you float it, it's not going to come back.
I think she threw that off her hand right where she wanted to throw it, and the ball can appear to hydroplane or almost fade right, especially on a 47-foot pattern.
Absolutely. And next thing you know, Morgan can step up here and just totally take control of this match.
Yeah, 2 single pin misses by Melissa in 4 frames, and Morgan on a double.
Oh my!
I thought 4-6 when she let it go,
too.
And maybe a 4-pin, and then she trips it, and that's
how about that?
Yeah, that's huge, because that's a 30-pin turnaround from a 4-6 to a strike.
And you can see right now she's just going through the motions on the next shot. She's not getting overly excited about a good break that she had. She knows she has to build off of it, and you can't do it by losing focus. And another strike here, get out to a 24-pin lead going into the 9th and 10th frame for Melissa. Oh, this one could be tough to step up for. Looks to be online. Wow.
Wow. High hard one, 4-bagger.
And the tide's officially turned. How about that? Just watch that. 10 straight back. Can't throw it any better. And now Melissa's got to step up. Melissa can still shoot 202 and force Morgan to get a mark in the 10th frame. But she has to definitely get this one in the 9th and the first 2 in the 10th. And a great comeback shot off the
great
open.
Shot off her hand, and boy, that last light 7-pin would have fell.
It'd only be only be a 14, not even, it would be a 11-pin match. So, a lot of pins given back thanks to that open frame.
So she knows she's going to have to make a subtle adjustment on this lane, because she's been a little bit light pocket most shots on a strike. So she's got the foundation frame built.
That's firm and quick, and yeah, that ball never got into a roll, Joey.
And probably her best shot of the match on that lane. And
target-wise, yes, but speed and revs and roll,
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, ball looked like it just didn't want to get into a roll, and as we talked about earlier, you could see 8-10s or even 5 8-10s out here, and yeah, that's end of the game here for Melissa with a 170. So she's going to end up taking home second place goodies. One of the prizes, the power sleeve from High Five Gear. Get one to match her jersey there, I think. Talk her dad into it.
I'll tell you, I wear one, and it keeps that arm nice and warm, keeps the muscles loose.
Yeah, I love mine as well. It's really helped. Even with Summer League, as warm and as humid as it gets sometimes, while you're bowling Summer League, you don't have the sweat underneath that you get with neoprene or anything of that nature.
Yeah, I can't say I feel warmer with it on, but the arm feels stronger.
Yeah, and if you talk to the Chris Barnes and the Jason Belmontes that wear them out on tour, they wear them for that reason. It makes you feel stronger. It keeps everything a little bit firmer, and it doesn't keep it overly warm.
Yeah, our friend Norm Duke wears one as well. In fact, he's probably the first player I saw sport one of those arm sleeves about 3 years ago while watching Extra Frame.
Mm-hmm.
So a 204 max score for Morgan. And we're still not seeing that familiar smile we normally see from Morgan at all times.
Yeah, well, she's probably a little upset with the early part of the game, but she knows she's got the title in hand. Title number 8, leading all time now for the U Challenge Series. Sarah Poblaski with 7, Katie Zwiefelhofer with 6, and there's the smile. Even a little smile on Melissa there in the loss, and 204 to 170. The final score for this match. Join Joe and I back from New Berlin Bowl in just a minute.
Classic Lanes Greenfield is your place to be for great fall leagues. Fun Saturday morning youth leagues, and our weekend couples leagues are always a party. Don't wait till it's too late. Call Classic Lanes Greenfield today. Pins for our Essential Bowling Concepts telecast are provided by Great Lakes Bowling, offering services, supplies, and capital equipment to the bowling industry for over 38 years. GreatLakesBowling.com. Barbier's Italian Inn, featured in onmilwaukee.com's In Search of the Perfect Pizza in January 2013. Near Miller Park on Blue Mound Road and on Milwaukee Avenue in South Milwaukee.
Well, Joey, we got to the final match, and after 4 frames, I kind of thought it was going to be a Melissa Molbeck runaway. Morgan struggled early, and Melissa started a couple of spares and a double. And then we came back from the commercial break, and we've seen it bite bowlers in the backside before, and it kind of did it to Melissa today.
Right, and the game can change quickly, and that's what we saw today. I mean, how often has Morgan ever been behind in a match, 30-some pins in a few frames? But again, she knows how to get it done. She makes some subtle adjustments. Game over.
Yeah, Morgan, that late 4-bagger, and Melissa probably going to be practicing her single pins a little bit more after that match because that kind of cost her going into the final frame. And Morgan O'Brien takes home a record-setting 8th Youth Challenge Series title. That's it for the girls for the 2012-13 season, but the boys' final coming up next. We've got that, the Endless Nightmare Open, thanks to our friends at DV8. So make sure you join us back from New Berlin Bowl for that. Thanks to our friends at Time Warner Cable Sports Channel for all the bowling they let us have on the air. And for my friend Joe Serrar, I'm Phil Brilo, and parents, take the kids bowling. They'll have fun for life. We'll see you next with that DV8 Endless Nightmare Clash.